Hello, and welcome back to May's Motel. This is the third episode. I'm going to be talking about another well-known fictional character, the mastermind behind the traps that tested people's will to live in the Saw franchise. Before I start, I'm going to give a spoiler warning for the movies I'll be going through. Now, let the games begin.
Ooh, what movies are those going to be?
Mostly the first movie, but
Okay.
I guess the whole franchise in general.
Spoilers for the whole franchise, guys.
We've all done things in life that we're not proud of, right? Some people fall into the wrong path with drugs or alcohol. Others betray their spouses by having an affair. Maybe they've done something to break the law. I hope none of you have done anything to this extent, but these are some examples of things that might land you in one of the traps created by Jigsaw. The Saw series began in 2004, and the main series included 8 movies ending in 2017.
That's pretty successful. To have 8 movies? That's a lot.
And there's still more.
That's like the Harry Potter movies.
The series was recently brought back with Chris Rock's Spiral that was released in theaters this year in 2021. The first Saw movie was released in 2004, directed by James Wan and written by Lee Whannell from a story that the two had written together. The screenplay was originally written in 2001, but Wan and Whannell experienced many failed attempts to get the script produced in their home country of Australia, so instead they took it to Los Angeles, where they shot a low-budget short film from a scene out of the script. In 2003, Evolution Entertainment liked what they saw from the short film, so they formed a horror genre label called Twisted Pictures and gave Wan and Whannell a budget of $1.2 million, which they used to shoot the film in only 18 days.
That's some fast speed, sonic speed right there.
Well, if you've seen the first movie, they're all pretty much in one room the whole time. Yeah. I don't think they have to do much for filming. Lionsgate Films screened the movie on January 19th, 2004, before it was released in North America on October 29th, 2004. The film had mostly mixed reviews, but it did very well at the box office in comparison to the small budget that they were given. The film grossed more than $100 million worldwide and became one of the most profitable horror films since the movie Scream.
Oh, so Scream is bigger than this series? Or are they, tied?
It was made the most money since Scream. No other horror movie has made the same amount.
Yeah, so I'm asking, does Scream have more?
I don't know. It's just they're one of the most profitable since that one.
Okay.
The movie begins in a large, dingy, and dirty bathroom containing a bathtub, 2 toilets, 2 urinals, 3 showers, 3 sinks, and 3 large mirrors. There is a hidden camera behind one of the mirrors. Several heating and water pipes line the walls. The bathroom is located in an underground tunnel network that could be entered through several buildings above ground. The room is connected to the underground hallways by a heavy metal sliding door. The movie opens with Adam Stanheight experiencing a troubling awakening in which he is underwater in the bathtub.
Whoa. Wait, what is the point of this bathroom? It sounds kind of sus.
Well, that's their game.
Yeah, but it's under what was it originally for?
It's in a giant building that's connected to other things. He just uses each room for different games.
Gotcha. Okay.
The bath's plug is pulled and a key is seen going down the drain as Adam struggles to catch his breath. He tumbles out of the bathtub and finds that his ankle is chained. The room is dark and Adam calls out for help when he hears another chain rattling. The quiet voice of Dr. Lawrence Gordon is heard, and Adam continues in a fit of confusion and fear. The lights immediately come on, and Adam struggles to focus his vision in the bright light. Dr. Gordon and Adam make eye contact before noticing a man's bloody body in the center of the room. He is covered in his own blood and is laying face down in the blood that pooled around from the apparent gunshot wound to the head. There is a handgun in one hand and a tape recorder in the other. Adam and Dr. Gordon exchange words, learning each other's names and questioning each other about their knowledge of the dead man lying before them, or if either one of them remembered how they even got into the bathroom. They examine the room, and Dr. Gordon notices a brand new clock on the wall, which stood apart from the rest of the room because the rest of the room was old and dirty.
Okay. Did it say the time on it?
Yeah, but he just noticed that the clock looked brand new, they just bought it and put it there.
Gotcha.
It looked out of place.
Something's already going on from them waking up and being in this place.
And there's a dead body.
Yeah.
Dr. Gordon tries opening the sliding door beside him, and Adam finds a white envelope with his name on it in his pants pocket. Inside the envelope is a cassette that says, "Play Me" on it. Dr. Gordon finds a similar envelope in his pocket, but his not only contains a cassette, but it also holds a key and a single bullet. He tries the key on the shackle around his ankle with no luck, so he tosses the key to Adam, who also has no luck. Adam notices the tape recorder in the dead man's hand, but it is just out of reach. So he uses his shirt by tying the bathtub's drain plug to one of the sleeves to throw it towards the tape recorder and drag it towards him. Adam puts his tape in the tape recorder, and a distorted voice comes from the small speakers of the old device. The voice tells Adam that he's probably wondering where he is, and that place is revealed to be the room that Adam might die in.
Whoa.
The voice then confronts him on his work of voyeurism, which is the practice of gaining sexual pleasure from watching others while they are engaged in intimate activities.
That's creepy.
Yeah, that's why he's here. The voice asks Adam what he sees when he looks at himself in the mirror, perhaps hinting to ask if he feels ashamed for what he does. The voice tells Adam that he can now either watch himself die or he can do something to stop that. After the recording ends, Dr. Gordon asks for the tape recorder so he can listen to his own tape. Adam is afraid that the recorder will break if he throws it, so he tells Dr. Gordon to throw the tape over to him instead. Dr. Gordon's tape was recorded by the same voice as Adam's. The voice talks about how every day of his working life as a doctor, he gives people the news that they are going to die soon. In order to survive, the voice tells him that he must kill Adam by 6 o'clock on the dot. He acknowledges the man lying dead in the center of the room, telling Gordon that, quote, "When there is that much poison in your system, the only thing left to do is shoot yourself," end quote. The man coughs, sounding very sick, before continuing. He tells Dr. Gordon that there are lots of ways to survive hidden around him, and he gives him a hint, telling him that X marks the spot.
So it's kind of like the escape room movie that we just saw.
Yeah, they gotta find the clues, I guess. This one, at least. The tape ends by Dr. Gordon learning that if he does not kill Adam by 6, his wife and daughter will die, and Dr. Gordon will be left to die in the bathroom. Dr. Gordon demands for the tape recorder again, and this time Adam gives it to him. Dr. Gordon rewinds the tape and listens to the end again 2 times when he hears something else. After the voice says, "Let the games begin," another voice whispers, "Follow your heart."
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
So he looks around and he sees that there's a heart drawn on the toilet tank of a toilet next to Adam.
Wow, he's very intuitive.
Well, he's looking for all the clues. He wants to survive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's not panicking. He doesn't have tunnel vision.
That's how Adam was. He's the panicking one.
Okay.
Adam searches the dirty toilet bowl and finds nothing. He then checks the tank of the toilet and found a black bag containing 2 hacksaws and photos that he had taken of Dr. Gordon prior to being trapped together. Adam throws one of the hacksaws to Dr. Gordon and then attempts to cut through his own chain, however, with no luck.
Uh-oh.
He also threw the bag of photos into the bathtub, and Dr. Gordon was completely unaware of their existence. They both tried cutting through their chains, and eventually Adam's saw breaks. In a fit of anger and frustration, Adam throws the hacksaw at one of the mirrors, and a shard of glass breaks off.
Oh, my gosh.
Dr. Gordon realizes that the saws are not meant to cut their chains, but rather to cut off their own feet.
Ooh, bone saws.
I don't know how that makes sense, though. Wouldn't cutting through metal be just as hard as cutting through your bones?
Yeah, I don't know how that works either. I'm pretty sure metal is harder than bones, but still the willpower you need to go through with that.
Dr. Gordon suspects that they had been abducted by the Jigsaw killer, and he tells Adam about how Jigsaw had attempted to frame him by leaving one of his pen lights from the hospital at a crime scene just 5 months earlier. Adam was shocked, but he still did not trust Dr. Gordon, and was even convinced that Lawrence might have something to do with their abduction. Adam has another fit of rage, and he grabs the glass shard that broke when he threw the hacksaw. He points the glass at Dr. Gordon, and he threatens to kill him if he doesn't explain what is going on. As he is holding the glass shard out, he notices that the shard was one-way glass, meaning that the mirrors in the bathroom showed their reflection on their side, but they were completely transparent on the other. Adam uses a piece of broken tile and smashed the mirror, breaking the glass completely. He then saw a camera positioned behind the mirror, protected by a shatterproof glass pane. Adam becomes angered, and Dr. Gordon tries to calm him down, telling him they need to focus on the clues that were left on the tapes. Adam and Dr. Gordon have a heart-to-heart conversation about Lawrence's family. Dr. Gordon threw his wallet to Adam so he could look at pictures of his wife and daughter. However, Adam did not find the photo Dr. Gordon told him was in the wallet. Instead, he found a photo of Dr. Gordon's wife and daughter gagged and bound with the words "regards" and a little drawing of a jigsaw piece. Adam did not tell Dr. Gordon about this photo. Instead, he carefully hid it out of Dr. Gordon's view and simply told Dr. Gordon the photo wasn't in there. Adam threw his wallet back, and Dr. Gordon frantically looked through his wallet for the photo, while Adam took another look at the picture he took from the wallet. On the back, Jigsaw had written, "X marks the spot. Sometimes you see more with your eyes shut." Adam asked Dr. Gordon to turn the lights off, and when he does, they see a glowing X on the wall.
Oh.
Dr. Gordon used his saw to smash the wall, and he discovered a hollow space with a small box inside. He opened the box with the key that he got from his envelope at the beginning of the game. Inside the box was a flip phone, a lighter, 2 cigarettes, and a note. The note told Dr. Gordon that the cigarettes were harmless and that he wouldn't need a gun to kill Adam because smoking was only poisonous when it ended in bloodshed. Adam asked for a cigarette, but Dr. Gordon tried calling the police with the flip phone. Unfortunately, the phone could not be used to make calls, but only to receive them.
That's weird.
Dr. Gordon then remembered the night of his abduction. He was attacked and then subdued by someone in a pig mask in the parking garage of the hospital.
A pig mask?
Yep.
That's a random mask to have.
It's not very random. Later, you'll find out why.
Okay.
Dr. Gordon tells Adam this, and then he asks how he knew to turn the lights off to see the X, and Adam lies by saying it was just his instinct. The men begin arguing, and Adam eventually showed Dr. Gordon the photo of his family. Dr. Gordon became fearful for the well-being of his wife and daughter, so he creates a plan in which he will have Adam pretend to fake his death. Dr. Gordon dipped one of the cigarettes into the blood of the man in front of him because the tape had told him that the blood was poisoned. He then turned the lights off as he dipped the cigarette into the blood, and then he threw the second cigarette and lighter to Adam after turning the lights back on. Adam lights a cigarette and pretends to collapse from the poison. The plan ended up failing because Adam received an electric shock from his shackle, which showed that he had not actually died, because the shock caused him to panic. The shock, however, did cause Adam to remember his own abduction. Adam tells Dr. Gordon about how he was abducted from his apartment, and then the flip phone rings. Dr. Gordon answered the phone, and he hears his daughter begging him to save her and her mother. He also spoke to his wife, who told him not to trust Adam because Adam had actually known Dr. Gordon prior to the game beginning. Dr. Gordon confronts Adam, and Adam admits to taking photos of him, and he showed Dr. Gordon the pictures that he put in the bathtub. Adam was following Dr. Gordon to spy on him and his mistress, who was also one of his students at the hospital. Dr. Gordon is convinced that someone had hired Adam, and he thought that the person who hired him was their abductor. Adam described the man who wanted the photos taken to be a tall black man with a scar around his neck, and Dr. Gordon realizes that that man was Detective Tapp, who had suspected him previously of being the Jigsaw killer.
Oh.
They sit in silence for a moment, and then Adam notices that one of the pictures had not been taken by him. The photo is of a man standing at Dr. Gordon's window. Adam shows Dr. Gordon the photo, and Dr. Gordon recognizes the man to be Zepp Hindle, an orderly at the hospital. Adam noticed that it was 6 o'clock. The time limit for their game was over. The phone rings again, and Dr. Gordon hears his wife's voice, who had managed to escape. However, he then hears gunshots and screams from his daughter.
Uh-oh.
Dr. Gordon starts to cry, and then he loses consciousness when an electric shock is sent through his shackle. Dr. Gordon regained consciousness and began panicking. He tied his shirt to his leg and began cutting his leg off with a dull hacksaw.
Oh, no.
Once he was free, he crawled towards the dead man and took the pistol, shooting Adam, who collapsed immediately. Dr. Gordon starts screaming and begs for the life of his family. The door then slides open, and Zepp Hindle walks in. Dr. Gordon tries shooting him, but he used the only bullet that he had on Adam.
Oh, no.
Zepp points his own gun at Dr. Gordon, but Adam gets up and attacks him. The bullet had only hit Adam in the shoulder. Adam disarms Zepp and smashes his head with the lid of the toilet. Dr. Gordon stopped him, and Adam began crying. Dr. Gordon promised to find help, so he began dragging himself out of the room. Adam searches Zepp's pockets looking for a key to a shackle, but instead he finds another tape. The tape revealed that Zepp had been poisoned, and the only way to survive was to abduct Dr. Gordon's family and kill them, if Dr. Gordon failed his test.
Oh, so he killed the family already?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because he failed, technically. Mm-hmm. If he did this, he would then receive an antidote for his poisoning. Zepp was just another one of Jigsaw's victims. The old man at the center of the room began to get up, and he removed the mask of his fake injuries. The man tells Adam that the key for his shackle was in the bathtub, and Adam realizes that it must have went down the drain. He points Zepp's gun at him, but he is shocked again. The man turns off the light and begins closing the door while saying, "Game over." The old man that had seemed to be lying dead on the floor for hours was actually the Jigsaw killer. He had been in the room during the entire game, and his victims had no idea.
Whoa. My mind would be blown if I hadn't seen the movie already.
It's one of my favorite twists. And that is one of the first major Jigsaw games of the series. Adam and Dr. Gordon experienced the terror of Jigsaw's game firsthand, but Adam ultimately lost the game. Adam was severely weakened from the bullet wound, and it was hard for him to remain conscious because of his lack of food. Amanda Young returns to the bathroom because she feels guilty and is haunted by nightmares. She attempts to suffocate Adam with a plastic bag as an act of mercy, but Adam tries to fight her off. He was very weak, so he could not overcome her. Instead, he ended up hitting his head on the toilet beside him and losing consciousness, ultimately dying of asphyxiation. Dr. Gordon had crawled out of the room, promising to return with help for Adam, but instead, Jigsaw finds him lying unconscious in the hall from the amount of blood he had lost. He wakes him up to congratulate him on passing the test, and he will become important to Jigsaw later on.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure you're probably also wondering who Amanda Young is. She was once a victim of Jigsaw's traps, but she survived, and she was later recruited by Jigsaw himself. Amanda genuinely believed that Jigsaw had helped her by putting her through his game. In her trap, she wakes up in a room where she is restrained and has a large metal contraption on her head that acts as a reverse bear trap.
Oh, that's scary.
A TV turns on next to her, and Billy the puppet appears on screen and introduces the game. Billy tells her that if she does not manage to free herself in 60 seconds, the device on her head will rip her mouth open and kill her. Amanda manages to free herself from the restraints, and a pin is pulled out of the device, starting the 60-second timer.
Was the puppet in the first movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a man lying next to her with a black question mark drawn largely on his stomach. Amanda takes a knife and begins searching the man's stomach for the key to her device. As she is doing this, the man is still alive, but only heavily sedated. She kills him and finds the key, managing to unlock the device and remove it from her head before the timer goes off. Billy approaches on a small red tricycle and congratulates her on passing and tells her that she now knows how to appreciate her life. She was put in this trap because she was wrongly incriminated for drug possession, but then she actually did become addicted to heroin in prison. Amanda survived her test and began to work with the man she claims to have saved. Amanda survived her test and began to work with the man she claims to have saved her life. In a twisted way, she was able to overcome her drug addiction and appreciates life, all thanks to Jigsaw. Now, on to Jigsaw himself. Who is he? Why does he feel compelled to put people through these difficult tests? John Kramer is a civil engineer. He was a co-founder of the Urban Renewal Group, which was a foundation dedicated to building property for needy people. The first building John and his co-founder Art Blank bought was the Gideon meatpacking plant. His wife, Jill Tuck, worked at the Homeward Bound Clinic, a recovery clinic for addicts. John and Jill were seemingly very caring people, wanting to help those in need. In 1994, John and Jill were expecting their first child together. They meticulously planned this pregnancy to ensure that the baby would be born in the Chinese Year of the Pig, and they had also planned to name the baby Gideon after the first building John bought. John surprised his wife with a crib and a wooden ventriloquist puppet that he had made for Gideon's arrival. So here's the pig and the Billy coming in.
The ventriloquist is such a weird toy to give a kid, though.
I assume that it didn't look as creepy as it did.
But still,
before.
It's the year 2004, like, right?
1994.
1994? Oh, okay. Still, there was toys at this time, you know? Like, they had, like, action figures and dolls.
Well, it's also for a baby, so I don't know.
So, like, a teddy bear is normally why you get a baby.
Well, it's something that he made, so I think...
Okay. Just sentimental value, I guess.
He also made videos where he would talk to Gideon, and he planned on showing Gideon the videos when he grew up. Unfortunately, Jill suffered a miscarriage when Cecil Adams, one of Jill's patients, broke into the clinic to steal drugs. He slammed the door into Jill, and the doorknob hit her stomach, causing her to fall to the ground, bleeding. John came into the building and found her, and then he rushed her to the hospital, but it was too late. She had lost the baby. The loss of his son caused John to fall into a deep depression. He begins to distance himself from his wife and his company. Jill and Art find him alone at his warehouse. Art tries convincing him to come back to work, and Jill reminds him that he is not the only one suffering from the loss of a child. He becomes angry and wants them both to leave, which they ultimately do. He asks Jill not to come back to him again, and they get a divorce. Shortly after, John began getting sick. He went to the Angel of Mercy Hospital, where Dr. Lawrence Gordon diagnosed him with colon cancer and a frontal lobe tumor.
So he was a patient of Dr. Gordon?
Yep. And that's where he comes in.
Okay.
It's all connected.
Okay.
John becomes more depressed and attempts suicide by driving his car off a cliff. He survived, and he found a new appreciation for life, and he decided that he was now going to dedicate the rest of his life to test other people's will to live and inspire the same appreciation for life in them. He created his test to symbolically represent what Jigsaw perceived to be a flaw in a person's moral character or their life. The name Jigsaw was given to him by the media because he was known for cutting a puzzle piece out of the flesh of those who failed his test.
That's weird. That's his mark.
Yep, his signature. Jigsaw says he cuts out the puzzle piece shape in the flesh because it is a symbol that the subject was missing their survival instinct, which is a vital piece of the human puzzle. Unlike most killers, Jigsaw never intends to actually kill his victims. He wants to test them and make them prove that they want to live so that they can appreciate life better once they do pass the test.
I don't know how true that is. Surviving a car crash and surviving a bear trap on your head are very different things.
Because I'll explain it later, but he just wants to teach people a lesson.
Yeah, I get it, but at the same time, I don't.
Well, he went crazy after the loss of his son, and then he's super sick. Cecil Adams, the man who caused Jill's miscarriage, became the first test subject. John created his plan, and when the time was right, he followed Cecil to a Chinese street festival that was celebrating the Year of the Pig. John grabbed 2 pig masks, putting one on himself, and he put a cloth with chloroform in the other mask to put on Cecil. John brought him to his workshop where he was strapped to a chair. There were 2 blades attached to the ends of the armrest that impaled his wrist. Cecil woke up in a panic and begged for forgiveness for Gideon's death. John says he already forgave him, but he is in this situation to help better his life. John revealed 8 horizontally arranged knives and bolted it to the chair so they were positioned in front of Cecil's face. John explained that this was the tool that could save his life. In order to free himself from the arm and leg restraints, Cecil would need to push his face into the knives. So, the knives are in front of him, and as he's pushing his face into it, that causes the rest of the restraints to lift off.
Oh, yeah, I remember that movie.
Cecil insulted John and screamed for help, but John showed him no mercy. Cecil pressed his face into the 8 knives while screaming in pain. Eventually, the chair collapsed and he was free. Cecil tried to attack John, but John moved out of the way, and Cecil fell into a cage filled with razor wire, which caused him to bleed to death.
Oof, that's a horrible way to die.
But it also shows how smart Jigsaw is, because he's able to plan every little thing that could possibly happen. So he knew something might go wrong, and he made another little trap for him to get stuck into.
Okay.
John cut a jigsaw piece from his skin to symbolize that he was missing survival instinct, and then he disposed of the body. Cecil's body was later discovered, and Jill feared that John had something to do with his death, so she confronted him. He merely told her that he was teaching Cecil not to take his life for granted, and Jill was astounded at the man that he had become. John began treatments for his cancer, and he learned about an experimental gene therapy, but his insurance company declined all of his requests to bear the cost of the treatment. John continued with his mission by creating more games, and he made Billy the Puppet, a bigger and creepier version of the puppet that he made for Gideon. Billy would be used to speak to the test subjects and provide their instructions for the game. John also suffered from a god complex, something that I didn't realize even though I've seen the entire series many times. A god complex is defined as an unshakable belief characterized by consistently inflated feelings of personal ability, privilege, or infallibility. Because he sees himself as a god, he believes that he can do no wrong. CZ's World on YouTube has a playlist of the history of the main Saw character, and his video on John Kramer is where I learned this information. I will link his video down below in the description. I highly recommend checking out that video and the rest of his videos on Saw if you're enjoying this episode so far and want to learn more. Many times throughout the series, John is seen wearing a red and black hooded robe that makes him look like a monk or a priest. When addressing his victims, John speaks using words that you would find in religious texts. John's actions are clearly against the law, but he sees his behavior as morally just. John wants to create a movement where he can make everyone behave the way that he wants them to. He wants people to stop taking advantage of the life they are living and appreciate it. A religion cannot work without its followers, so he also develops his own cult by recruiting people who have passed his tests to train in preparation for his death. John wants his followers to continue his work after he is unable to. Many religions use a form of text or commandments to share a moral code, and John does this by setting rules for his games and expressing his ideals in the tape recordings. Religious texts survive for thousands of years, and John's teachings share a similar immortality. He has his followers who he plans on passing down his teachings, and a website is even created to share his teachings after his death. Heaven and hell, karma, and reincarnation are examples of sin leading to punishment, and John's games are similar to these ideas. His games are a form of punishment for those who have sinned, and their suffering is transformative. If they survive, they will come out as better people. John's first disciple is Logan Nelson. John shares his teaching with Logan, and he teaches mechanical engineering. Together, the two of them create the reverse bear trap that will later be used on Amanda Young. However, Logan leaves to fight in the war, so John has to find new disciples. Amanda Young, Detective Hoffman, and Dr. Lawrence Gordon will become his next disciples. John teaches them his values, and he shows them how to create the games. John would create games for each of his disciples to determine which person will be the one to continue his legacy after his death. John also leaves a tape in his will that is given to his ex-wife so she can play out a game that John had prepared. John realizes that Amanda and Detective Hoffman are not capable of becoming the next Jigsaw because they stray from his values. Amanda will often create games with no chance of survival, and Detective Hoffman craves power, using the games to punish people in his own way. Dr. Gordon will be used by John behind the scenes, without Amanda or Hoffman's knowledge. Dr. Gordon was extremely important for games that needed surgical skills. Dr. Gordon would secretly watch over Hoffman after John's death, and he was also tasked with watching over Jill. When Hoffman kills Jill, Dr. Gordon fulfills his request to act immediately if anything happens to her. Dr. Gordon acquires a few of his own disciples and captures Hoffman. He leaves Hoffman in the bathroom where Dr. Gordon had once been tested. Hoffman is left to die in the bathroom as punishment for killing John's ex-wife.
It's a lot of names to follow.
Yeah, sorry. Did you follow it well enough?
I think so.
It's basically just John, his wife, and then the disciples.
Yeah, that's where I got lost, is all the disciples.
There's just 3 main ones, but he narrows it down to 1, which is Dr. Gordon from the beginning.
Okay.
John had strong moral beliefs and a clear sense of justice. Although his traps were very brutal, John saw it necessary for people to learn to appreciate their lives. He showed no feelings for the harm he was causing or the deaths of many of his victims, but he did care for his survivors. He took care of them, and he taught them his beliefs. While his games are terrifying, it makes me put myself into the situations. I wonder if I would be able to survive the traps. Would I be one of John's few survivors, or just another victim lacking survival instinct? Honestly, I probably wouldn't survive. I like to think that if I was in an intense situation, I would be able to overcome my fears. But
I think his games are just rigged.
They're only rigged after Hoffman gets a hold of them. And Amanda.
Okay.
But I don't know. Like, when I think about all the different traps, I don't think I could
go through with it.
Yeah, because, like, the one that always sticks with me is the guy that had to cut open his own eye to get the key. And, like, just seeing, you know, like, whatever he used to cut his eye, I don't think I could ever push something to my eye like that.
Well, I just think, because we saw Matt Pett's video, so if you haven't seen that video, the film theorist, check him out on YouTube too, where he tries to debunk John Kramer, because, like, it seems like most of his games are rigged, and he seems to punish anybody who even does something remotely wrong in his eyes. Just even, like, slightly wrong. Like, at the beginning, you were talking about Dr. Gordon, and his family was murdered. What did they do?
They're just involved. But it's because he has the God complex, so he just sees himself over everyone no matter what.
That's why I was trying to reason with you earlier. I was like, I don't think these games are just, because sometimes innocent people die. And sometimes these people don't commit that grave of crime. Like, aren't some of them just, like, I don't know.
Like drug addicts, yeah. Well, he just thinks that he's above all and he can change their lives.
They're going to have a changed life if they survive. They're going to have, like, PTSD or something.
Well, he's hoping it will come out like Amanda, where she can continue on.
And then didn't he, like, kill her or something?
She ended up dying, but not because of him. No. She didn't listen to him, even though he kept hinting that she was being tested, and then she died. Well, although I do love the franchise, I don't like John Kramer. His ideals make sense in a way, but the way he teaches people are inhumane. I believe there are other ways to teach people to appreciate their lives without putting them through life-threatening traps and games. John is a brilliant mastermind, but he twists his brilliance and turns everything he believes in evil. I understand that he's depressed because of the loss of his son and his cancer, but how can he justify putting people through so much pain and suffering just to teach them a lesson? When he first falls into his dark state, I wish his wife would have tried harder to help him. Yes, she was also suffering the loss of her son, but John was clearly hurting and needed her. She knew what John was capable of after Cecil's death, but she just pushed herself out of his life entirely. Yes, he wanted her gone, but he's just acting out of anger and sadness. Even if she didn't stick around to help him personally, why didn't she inform the police of what he had done? She could have prevented so many deaths after that. There was a lot I didn't cover, but the franchise includes 9 movies, so it would be nearly impossible to go through all of it. Make sure to check out CZ's World on YouTube for more videos on the characters within Saw, and leave a like on my video if you enjoyed what I was able to cover. Subscribe if you're new, and also check out my Patreon. The link will be in the description. I want to continue making these videos and providing even better content, so I would appreciate the support. Thank you for checking in to May's Motel, and I hope you'll visit again next week for an episode on another real-life killer.
Bye.
Bye.